welcome to episode 7 of Nich and Jon Is This Evangelion, an Evangelion rewatch podcast. I'm Jon.
I'm Nick.
And we watch Evangelion. That's what we do. Nothing else.
That's all we need to do.
Sometimes it's punishing. Today, very rewarding.
Yeah, good one today.
I have some bold words, which I will save for the end of the episode.
Oh, okay, wow.
But I very much enjoyed this installment.
Yeah.
Now, we were just going over this off air. It's a little bit confusing because this is episode 8 of our podcast.
Yeah.
It is, however, episode 7
Of the show.
So because we did that little kind of break where we reviewed the first movie.
Yes.
So to keep the synchronicity going, we'll actually call this episode 7.
Yeah, I think it's easier because then you can, at a glance, see which episode of Evangelion you should watch if you're listening to our podcast and rewatching the show.
Yeah, that'll just get really confusing, actually.
And yeah, if we're one episode out and then we'll be 2 episodes out when we watch 2.2, it's going to be a mess.
Besides, the playlist arrangement on the site keeps it all in order anyway, so you're not going to
yeah. So if we, basically, you always know that the episode of our podcast is always going to be the same as the episode number of the actual episode. So we will call our film ones 1.11 and 2.22.
And we know that people are listening and caring, which is nice. So
yeah,
we're getting feedback, which is lovely.
Yeah.
You get a bit of momentum behind you.
Send in some fan mail,
Never has this anime from 20 years ago seemed more relevant than when we made a podcast about it.
We made the podcast.
Anno, you're welcome.
Yeah.
We're bringing it back.
Bringing Evangelion back for the kids.
For the people.
Yeah.
For a whole new generation of miserable kids. We both we had Preconceptions.
I thought I knew what this episode was.
I thought I knew what this episode was as well.
I'm really confused because I remember, I'm sure I have a memory of whenever I would show Evangelion to people, I would take this disc out and I would play them episode 7, confidently thinking it was the introduction of Unit 2. Mm-hmm. But obviously I was not, because that is not this episode.
No.
So I don't know where that memory came from.
When we signed off after watching the first movie, 1.11, we were convinced that we were now going to have the introduction of Asuka.
Yeah.
Like we were pretty certain, actually.
I'd have bet my life on it.
Instead, we got a completely standalone episode.
Standalone episode.
Oh, I didn't even realise. Which is often referred to as one of the hidden gems.
Yes.
Of the
and in
series.
fact, the instant we saw what reminded us of this, we were like, oh yeah,
what
what
a
a
great
episode!
amazing.
Yeah.
I forgot
And I
about
remember
it.
loving this one, and I remember watching this way back with my brother when we were watching it, as teens. And this was another one we'd always go back to. We'd always reload this episode and we'd watch it. So maybe that's where the memories got confused, because I have a few episodes of this series that I would always rewatch. And obviously this is one of them. And so I've obviously got 7 confused with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, it's a good one.
What's it about, Nick?
Yeah, well, John, it opens in Gendo Ikari's office.
Yes.
His bizarre, expansive, red office.
Sinister overmind of Nerve.
Yeah, definitely a villain. Definitely a villain sort of office. We've mentioned it before. And he's on the phone and he's chatting about budgets, it seems.
It's very kind of like covert. It's very.
You don't know what he's talking about.
No, and it's one of those kind of blinking you miss it kind of things where it's all kind of like, as you say, like budget and government intrigue.
Yeah, and as much as maybe if we really paid attention to everything that he said, we might maybe glean some sort of weird insight to the workings of Nerve and some nuggets for the future. I don't think that was really intended. It was all kind of smoke and mirrors to say, oh, it's just admin, and then a bit of paper crosses his desk, and we see a blueprint.
But I think like it was kind of saying something like, it's going ahead, or something like that, or this thing we've been talking about is going to happen.
It's basically foreshadowing of, obviously, there's a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or was he kind of referring to the particular episode? Like what was going on in this episode, or?
Well, yeah, I think it's a bit of both.
Could be. It was a bit ambiguous.
Yeah, it is a bit ambiguous. But really all that matters is the image that then goes across the desk that he's looking at.
Yeah.
Which seems to be, and of course we knew it was, an image of another robot.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And that's how the episode opens, and the title card comes up, and the title of this episode is A Human Creation, or then it's also titled as A Human Work.
Yeah, there's like 2 title cards for some reason.
Yeah, looking at the official episode list, it's listed on the wiki as A Human Work.
Okay, well we can.
Yeah,
fine.
So.
Yeah, I got the impression that like because there were like these kind of covert. He was reading a folder, and there was like these covert kind of photos of something, that maybe like a spy of his had been kind of like reporting.
It did
on
seem
something.
like a sort of microfilm photo, didn't it?
Yeah, like very underhanded and
so he was getting blueprints and images of something that he probably normally, corporate intrigue wise, wouldn't have had access to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but of course this is Gendo. He has access to everything he wants.
But then we go from kind of like Machiavellian Bond villain kind of plotting to the apartment.
Hey, Shinji,
and the happy
Misato.
apartment music. It's like I'm there. Shinji is eating toast.
Yep, with Pen.
Pen is eating fish.
Yep.
From a dog bowl.
Yep.
Even though he could read newspapers, we still make him eat off the floor.
Yep.
Like an animal.
Yeah.
Because he is an animal.
Yeah.
And he should know it. He should be reminded every day. Got happy music playing. They're eating breakfast. It's all synchronized. It's very cutesy.
Yeah.
Misato comes in and you're not going to believe it, Nick. She's dressed like a slob.
What?
And how does she start the day?
She starts the day with a beer, John. But not just a beer. She starts the day with a specific animation. I mean, maybe I start the day with a specific animation. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's that one we've talked about before.
Well, how many times have we seen it now? We saw it in the original episode.
Yep.
We saw it in the movie.
Yep. So we've already seen it twice.
Lovingly recreated in the movie.
Oh, God. I mean, it was actually redrawn in the movie, but it was still the exact same animation.
Factually accurate.
For those who don't remember, it's the animation of her taking a sip from a newly cracked open beer.
Yeah.
And then sort of her face becomes incredibly close to the camera and she does this, sort of like, I'm enjoying this so much, but also it's kind of like, I don't know.
It's the most bizarre human gesture you've ever witnessed. No, I don't think anyone has ever cracked a beer or enjoyed it as much as she's apparently enjoying it.
She's taken a toke of a drug or something. Like it really seems to hit her. Like there's this big hit from just some lager. I don't know what lager she's drinking, what percentage that is.
Well,
but it's potent.
I did notice on the side of the can, while it did have a lot of Japanese text, it also had a few English words.
Oh.
And I think it was the equivalent of like special brew.
So it's like a 4%, 3 or 4% lager of some kind.
I remember I read Eric Clapton's biography at the insistence of my friend Titch, who was a massive Eric Clapton fan. That's a story for another day, because Eric Clapton's done some horrible things in his life.
Really?
Really messed up stuff. But it's like at the height of his kind of like alcoholism and drug abuse, he said he'd start the day with a can of special brew, but then every time he took a sip, he'd top it up with vodka. And
so by the end, it was just all vodka.
I think by the end of the day, the ratio had definitely shifted towards being. Maybe that's how Masato rolls.
Maybe it is, but
don't
she'd only just freshly cracked that can, so unless she's injecting them somehow with vodka, which she might be.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we've got that classic bit of animation, which some people say maybe is the lifeblood of Evangelion. I disagree. And then there's a bit of dialogue about how much of a slob she is.
Yes.
And yeah, like Shinji makes some dig about the fact that like there's no plans for dinner, no one's done the washing up.
I've got to say, while it's a bit... the apartment scenes are always very odd. They're always quite jarring.
A bit jarring, yeah.
But I've got to say, like, as kind of cutesy as this scene is, it wasn't as bad as some. Like,
to be brutally honest, it was... I didn't mind it in this one.
Yeah.
Because of the humanity.
Yeah.
Like, Shinji was displaying someone who, although still maybe a bit stuck up in comparison to Misato, that contrast was... played well, but he also seemed content. Like it's just, this is Misato.
I gotta say, it was a well-written episode, but actually like a funny episode.
Yeah,
like I was actually surprised at how.
We'll touch actually a little bit later on some of the humour in it, but yeah, there certainly is.
It's not like a series really known for humour at all, but
no.
They're like this odd couple, and Shinji's just saying,
it was exactly
you're a massive slob, and. Whose job was it to cook food today?
Yeah.
I think it was yours, And he's just giving a grief saying, like, no wonder you're single. You are such a slob. It's disgusting.
Yeah. And I think one thing we mentioned at this point, realising, of course, that it was the episode that it was, we were like, this is a standalone episode, as you also said earlier. And that works really well.
It does.
Like Monster of the Week style. This is just a story, an event, a happening at Nerve in the politics of the apocalyptic world, and there should be more of these.
No, it's really astonishingly good actually, and but there's also like a slight story gimmick in that it's Shinji's kind of parents' evening at school, and Misato being his kind of surrogate parent here
is the one who shows up.
She's going to come. And he's like, "You're gonna come? You're actually gonna come? I thought you were too busy." And she's like, "No, I mean, it's my job. I have to come." And he's like, "Oh, it's your job." There was like a little moment like that.
Yeah, there wasn't there? That's true.
But then you get a payoff later, which is good. This is good character building.
Yeah.
And then Toji and Kensuke.
Yeah, so we cut to being at school. I guess it's probably the end of the school day.
Yeah, we go to school, and the boys are basically all just kind of like they're so jealous of Shinji that he gets to live with Misato. It's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, she's so beautiful. Like, I wish you were my girlfriend."
And she rocks up in a sports car in the car park outside the school.
Very glamorous.
Very short skirt, sort of glamorous. Gets out the car, and all the boys are going wild, looking out their window at her.
Seems to be a public
into
secret that she is the commander of
the
NERV.
operations director of NERV. Yeah,
But they're saying like it's amazing. She's the complete package. She's young. She's successful. She's beautiful. She heads, this massive
secret organization.
Organization which is kind of battling other dimensional beings. She's got a nice car. Wait, what was our previous point?
Point 4?
Successful. Glamorous. It's not. It's bizarre. Yeah.
But sort of that's just played as. They think she's great, and Shinji's sort of there in the background of all the boys like ogling her, just going, "You don't know what girl."
Yeah, you don't have to live
with
her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then we cut to NERV.
It's cut to NERV, and suddenly
it's just sort of day job, kind of like Shinji's just doing some tests in Unit 1.
Well, they're riding that weird elevator, aren't they?
We see him in cockpit first.
Oh, you do, don't
and he
you?
just says they're doing some sort of like cooling test or something, and he says something like, "I don't understand why I feel so comfortable here. It smells of blood, and it feels so familiar."
And he says, and I know nothing about the Evas.
And that sort of leads us into then a sort of discussion between him, Misato, and Ritsuko.
Yeah.
About Second Impact.
Yeah, and there's also like there's a scene where we joked about it being like another animation budget
like
saving.
Cheat. Yeah.
But like there's a scene where Shinji and Ritsuko and like a couple of
technicians, I think.
They're just riding this elevator for the longest time. But they're saying stuff like, "How's Unit 0 doing?"
Yeah, because it was damaged. Of course.
Yeah, because it's a direct, from the and we see like Ramiel, the dead angel,
the dead carcass
being disassembled, which is kind of cool. And they say stuff.
And they talk about budgets again here. Don't they?
Because they say like, "I can't believe they're not giving us enough money. We're so underfunded.
It's so expensive to dismantle the angels and stuff." Yeah.
And they're saying like, "Well, where's director? What's his title, Gendo? Is he the director?
He's director, I think. Yeah.
Where's the director?" He said, "Oh, he's on a business trip." And we're like, "Well, at least we'll get some peace and quiet for a few days."
Yeah.
Then before we talk about Second Impact, if I've got this right in my head, we have a little cutaway
to where Gendo is.
Yes,
you're right.
And he's on a plane.
He is. And he's talking to who we think might be, but it's never actually said outright.
Yeah.
A Chinese representative / delegate.
Yeah, because like NERV has bases in like all the major surviving countries after Second Impact.
And it seems like NERV / Gendo are doing everything they can to convince every single country to build Avas.
Yes.
And I think this is basically because of budget. So the idea is that Tokyo / Japan's budget isn't big enough to build all the Avas they need.
Yeah.
For whether it's instrumentality or just defending the Earth.
Because it's interesting because it hasn't been said yet in the main series. And we know this because we've kind of seen the whole series and we've read around it and stuff.
Yeah.
But post Second Impact, this kind of big apocalyptic event, the United Nations kind of emerged as the leading world government.
Yeah.
Every country still has its own government.
Yep.
But they very much work in union.
Yeah.
And like the whole world is aware of the angels.
Yeah.
But certain things are withheld from the public. But it's interesting that, like, they appear to know that NERV is utterly vital.
Yeah.
There appear to be branches of NERV in every country.
Yeah.
And they're all contributing to the budget.
And they're all making Avas.
Yes.
It seems that Gendo is sending designs or requests for specific Ava numbers to be manufactured in different countries.
And also it's interesting that, like, because Sile, the sinister organisation that seems to control the UN...
and NERV.
And yes, indeed, NERV seem to know, obviously, the importance of NERV.
Yeah.
But it seems to be a bit of a conflict in that money is being diverted from traditional military and governmental purposes.
And as we find
NERV.
out some other stuff as well, money is seriously being moved around for NERV.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And like the guy, it's this big empty suborbital plane.
Yeah.
And Gendo's the only person in it. And then this guy comes.
Chinese fella.
May I take this seat? And just sits next to him and says, like all the countries bar America have voted for the creation of EVA Unit 6.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But then he says something to the effect of, but we will build Unit 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he says, like, they're trying to work on Unit 6. The US are against it, but they will eventually cave.
Yeah.
And my country is working on Unit 8.
Yeah, which is why we thought he was China.
We thought he might be China, yeah.
because it'd have to be a big enough economy to single-handedly fund an Ava.
But it's interesting that, like, despite them all being from different countries, NERV regardless of what country they appear to be in, appear to be utterly loyal to Nerve, rather than their kind of country allegiances.
That's very true. So we've got weird insight there into how like post-apocalyptic geopolitics seem to be functioning.
And as an odd little thing, before I forget, when they're in that plane, you get an aerial view
of the plane,
or also of the damage done to the planet.
Oh, that's true.
Because you see the impact site from Second Impact, which is like a big swirling, almost like black hole in the side of the planet. Really.
Yeah. And actually, that's a perfect segue then, which is back to Nerve, and it's now just Shinji, Misato, and Ritsuko on another elevator. This time, not just silhouetted.
Actually drawn,
yeah. Again, travelling through some vast expanse of the Nerve headquarters that we never really know. I'd love someone to draw the internal layout of Nerve, because I think it would just be a honeycomb of wasted foyers. In fact, that's the name of my autobiography. A honeycomb of wasted foyers. Nick Angel.
It's very poetic.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I can't believe I just came out with that.
That's a win.
Yeah. And it's brought up and mentioned that what everyone is told publicly about Second Impact, which is that it's a meteorite impact, is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a veil pulled over the public's eyes. And in actual fact, it was the discovery of the first angel in Antarctica, which, as Ritsuko says, exploded for some reason.
They just say they have no idea why, apparently. But it's interesting because for what we've both said was kind of like a standalone episode, we arguably get more world building than we've had in the entire series.
Which again
so
is a
far.
really good way of doing storytelling. You do like Monsters a Week style episodes, but the in-between sort of knitting segments of those stories are adding a little bit more tidbits to the lore. That's brilliant.
It's crazy.
This is like storytelling 101. This is fantastic.
Because it seems as though like maybe Shinji's been there long enough now
that they can trust to talk.
Yeah, it's almost like his clearance has come through where they're like, well, look, you're kind of invested now, so we're going to tell you a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. But all throughout this conversation where Ritsuko is talking quite like openly about all this stuff, and Shinji's quite interested, obviously, in it, Misato looks very distant and sort of upset. And knowing what we already know, which we won't necessarily go into just yet, that is quite interesting. And Ritsuko mentioned something at the end of the conversation like, are you all set or whatever? And she's sort of distracted, isn't she?
But she also says an interesting thing, which is she tells Shinji that, Second Impact was when this angel just blew up. And she said, our mission, Nerve's sole mission, is to prevent this happening
Third
again.
Impact. Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because she's an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
But we don't know if that's what she believes, if that's just what she's telling Shinji. We don't know if that's what Misato knows or believes as well.
I feel like Ritsuko, and this may just be me speculating because I don't remember the details, but I always feel like she has Gendo's ear.
Yes.
And vice versa. And certainly I think there's even potentially an affair going on there.
There's some events, yes, indeed. And there's some events later in this episode even, where we would lead you to believe that Misato is not in the loop.
Absolutely.
She doesn't know entirely what's
and Ritsuko
happening.
seems to almost informationally outrank Misato.
Yeah.
Because all Misato needs to know is what she needs to know to fight on the front line.
Yeah.
But Ritsuko is privy to information of a much higher tier.
Yeah.
And certainly so, therefore, whatever she's saying about Second Impact and, the first angel exploded for some reason, maybe she knows. Mm-hmm. She certainly knows a lot more than Misato, I think.
But then we go from there to back to the apartment.
Yep.
And we get a juxtaposition where it's the morning, Shinji's eating toast.
Exact same piece of animation.
It's just the same animation, basically. Yep. But then the door opens and Misato steps out.
Yeah.
Only now...
she's not a slob.
She is in full, military...
business
dress uniform.
Yeah, dress uniform. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Utterly smart, utterly businesslike. And she's not cracking beers or anything. And she just goes...
she looks very solemn, actually.
She just goes, I'll be back late. We'll order takeout.
Yeah.
And just goes.
Yeah.
And Shinji's like...
And Shinji's like, which she's played for laughs and quite effectively.
Yeah.
He's just like...
Oh, and Pen.
Yeah.
Pen's
eyes are just huge. Yeah, neither of them can believe it.
And this fish just falls out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And then we get some more world building because we see... they're flying in a helicopter.
Yes.
Over a partially submerged city.
Yes.
Because they have to go to old Tokyo.
Yeah, and Misato says something to the effect of, I can't believe this used to be the capital of Tokyo.
Yeah.
It's just all submerged skyscrapers.
So did I kind of get the impression that where they're going, which is this kind of big industrial kind of testing facility, really, really big, almost like an air, like a runway, it's just massive, just flat in all
out in the
directions.
middle of nowhere, yeah.
Do you get the impression they built it by the ruins of old Tokyo because it's kind of like abandoned and,
There's
and
no one
safe.
living there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably what they're going for, yeah. And it was also an opportunity for them to say and show how devastated and empty parts of the world are now.
It's
which
pretty
is, again,
cool.
very effective.
And they say stuff like in the ride over, they say like because they're clearly going to something important.
Yeah.
But they mention the military because Japan doesn't have an army.
Has the Strategic Self-Defense Force.
Yeah, and they say like they're annoyed because they're being cut out of the loop,
Yeah.
basically, because all the government's going straight to nerve.
Mm.
And so I got the impression that like they've put their backing behind this other project.
Well, which is whatever we're
Whatever
going to
it
see.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, it's a very funny moment because it cuts to like a corporate presentation.
Yeah.
And it's like Japan Heavy Industrial Chemical Incorporated are happy to announce our newest product.
Yeah.
And you see like a shot of the conference room and there's all these big circular tables and they're all absolutely crowded with delegates and there's one table in the middle.
Which is obviously the nerve table.
The nerve table. There's only two people. It's Ritsuko and Misato. And they are just like utterly alone in the middle of the
Their table is right in the middle.
Yeah.
So all these other tables surrounding them are full of people and then there's just this completely empty table in the middle.
Because like it turns out they don't like nerve.
No.
Nobody likes nerve.
No one was invited except for the bare necessities of who was required to be there.
So they start this presentation and a representative from the company is like, we're very happy to have you all here. We can't wait to show off our new product. And then Ritsuko stands up.
Yeah, they basically say, like, this is just a question and answer session and we'll show you a demonstration of it in a special command center after these question and answers. And then, as you say, Ritsuko stands up and asks a question. And,
yeah.
What does she say?
She basically gets right to it, and he says,
doesn't mess around.
Well, he says like, well, it's an honor to have a question from you, the world famous Dr.
Dr. Ritsuko Akagi. Yeah.
And she says, well, look, I'm just going to cut straight to it. Is it not very dangerous to have a nuclear reactor?
In a robot designed for hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. And he goes, well, it gives you 150 days consecutive power, which is better than 5 minutes.
Yeah, a bit of a dig.
Yeah, and also, what we've built is remote controlled. It's very reliable. It doesn't cause massive mental trauma
to children.
Yeah, it's like, ooh.
But Ritsuko keeps coming back with like things, but like all of his points are kind of like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and we're all like, he's kind of making a good point.
Yeah, he's winning this fight, and then
he drops a bit of a sexist bomb at the end.
Yeah,
he goes like, well, it's like your robots go out of control all the time.
A bit like a woman.
And everyone goes, oh, like, oh.
Yeah, and Ritsuko's like.
He also drops and aside from that, because we were kind of like, oh, dude, you were winning the argument. You didn't need to go there. But he dropped a couple of interesting truth bombs.
Yes, about money.
Yes, because he said basically like, we're not getting any money. And also, people are starving around the world because all the money is going to nerve.
Yeah, so how do you sleep at night with what your company is doing?
Yeah.
And Ritsuko comes back with something like, we are the only ones who have a weapon that can defeat the angels, so anything is... that makes everything okay.
But he basically goes like, we only have your word for that.
Yeah.
Because you have the protection of the government and the UN and Sile. We are not told anything.
But then he does say, oh, what? The AT field? Which surprises everyone, because like, how on earth does he know about that?
Yeah.
And then, of course, it cuts to them in a sort of like their own little debriefing room, Ritsuko and Misato.
Yes.
And Misato's very angry and she's kicking a locker in.
We both come across as psychopaths in our own way, because Misato is kicking living hell out of a locker. You're like, who does he think he is, that SOB? He's so jumped up and full of himself. And then we just cut to Ritsuko burning this dossier.
Yeah, about Jet Alone.
And it's like, just this slightly manic look in her eyes. Like,
there's fire, like light on her face, like uplit. But they do mention that it's weird that they were able to find out about the AT field. So obviously there are some things that Nerve is thinking they're keeping secret and are failing at. So the corporate espionage goes both ways here, because Gendo knew about Jet Alone, but obviously also Jet Alone knew about the AT field, which is interesting.
So then we cut to a kind of viewing facility, a bit like Nerve's command center.
Yeah,
a tiny bit.
Yeah, less technologically advanced.
Yes, indeed. And they are looking at a very tall building, the only building in the middle of this great empty field. Which is a bit like a kind of Cape Canaveral.
Yes.
Like the building that might house a rocket. Yeah. And it opens, and it kind of splits down the middle and opens.
Yeah. Revealing
a giant robot.
Yeah. Of a very different style of design.
Yeah, completely different design.
Yeah.
And it is called Jet Alone.
Yeah.
And it's kind of adorable.
It is. I remember always thinking that it's funny how they've deliberately designed it to look less cool than the Evas, but at the same time, it's got its own sort of charm about it in terms of like how it looks, and it doesn't really have a head and a torso. It's more got this big bulky torso thing that the arms sort of come out the side of.
No head as such, but it's got like a weird. It could be a grill. It could be
like a viewing glass.
But it ends up looking like a mouth.
Yeah,
it has like a kind of like a weird
toothy grin. Like a Totoro grin.
And it's got great big kind of
floppy
wobbly segmented arms. And
it makes me think of the Omnidroid from The Incredibles.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, but not as obviously three-legged.
Yeah, like a humanoid version.
Yeah,
of
humanoid
that.
version of that. Yeah.
And basically they go and launch, and it starts.
Yeah, take one step.
But kind of cool because it has a nuclear reactor. These massive carbon rods come out of its back.
Yeah.
So it just has all these kind of spikes coming out the top.
And then it goes.
And it starts moving, and they're like, and Misato's like, oh, it actually walked. That's kind of impressive.
And meanwhile, Ritsuko is now very quiet. And she's sort of watching the test with some sort of silent confidence, which is a bit suspicious. And then, almost immediately, something goes wrong.
Yes.
And all the guys in the control room start saying things like, the temperature fluctuations it's rising, it's out of control.
Yeah, they go, quick, shut it down.
Quick, shut it down, but none of the shutdown commands
work. It's projecting, yeah.
And bizarrely, this chain reaction, which is clearly happening, just means it keeps walking.
Yeah.
And it's walking towards the control room.
Yeah.
That they're all in.
And it just walks straight through this domed building, almost stepping on them.
Yeah. I'm surprised no one dies.
And then they're like, well, it's out of control. And Misato's like, you have to shut it down. I said, we can't.
Yeah.
And he goes, what's going to happen? He goes, it's probably going to
We're just going to wait for it to stop. And she's like, what will happen first, a stop or a meltdown? He's like, probably a meltdown.
So it's basically, there's going to be a nuclear explosion. It's just going to detonate.
And then someone says it's heading straight for Akagi or Akami or
which
something.
I guess is a city?
Yeah, I think, or town.
Yeah.
So either way, there's going to be some serious innocent casualties.
And Jet Alone starts kind of running.
Yeah, in a sort of floppy, adorable
loping
gait.
kind of swing.
So then Misato says, "Well, look, I'm taking responsibility for this.
Yeah.
I need the password for the shutdown.
Give me the shutdown password."
And he's like, "I don't have the authority to give you that."
And he's like, "I want to give it to you.
I really do, but I don't have the authority." So he calls someone, and it cuts to someone picking up the phone in an office, seemingly miles away.
Yeah. In Tokyo too, apparently.
Yes, it says it, doesn't it? Yeah. And then he goes, "Oh well, I need to pass that on to Fujiwara or whatever." And that cuts to...
smash cut to a golf course, and a guy just hitting a ball and goes, I couldn't possibly give...
On the mobile phone.
I can't do this over the phone. You need to talk to Mr. Wilkes. And
it cuts again.
And it's legitimately a very funny scene.
Of red tape and business.
Yeah, because no one in government can give the authority to turn it off.
And I think it cuts to Misato for a second. She just goes, the passing of responsibility.
Yeah, no one will take responsibility for this.
Yeah.
So she, all like the technicians... even though they work for this private company, are suddenly on board, and they're like, "Well, look, we need to shut it down."
Yeah,
and they're like, "She's like, well, great, I will manually get on board it."
Yeah,
and the director goes, "Okay, I'll give you the password is hope."
Yeah, I believe in that this is the right thing to do. So here's the password.
Yeah. Cut to
Unit 1.
Yes.
In a plane.
Which is cool.
Yes. Sort of lying down with its feet sort of sticking out the back end of the plane. It's being obviously transported.
It's kind of cool. The plane is kind of hollow.
Yeah.
And it kind of like clips around it.
Yeah. I think we've seen it before, if I remember rightly.
I'm trying to work it out now.
Or maybe we see it later. I think we might see it later with the transport
unit
too. I don't know. Anyway, yes, it is kind of cool. It's obviously a plane designed specifically for transporting the units. And we see Ritsuko and Misato talking.
Oh, of course, yes, sorry, you're right.
Because Misato has to get changed into a special radiation suit because the inside of Jet Alone is radioactive.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ritsuko's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you doing this? This is stupid. And it's weird because Ritsuko seems to be blocking an obviously heroic and necessary move to save the day.
Yeah.
And Misato's like, well, if I don't do it, everyone's going to die. And Ritsuko seems to be weirdly in the way of that. Anyway, yes, then cut to the plane.
Yes.
Shinji's there. Misato and Shinji are talking.
Yeah.
And she basically just outlines the plan.
Basically, like, you have to get me on board Jet Alone.
Yeah.
And then slow it down.
Yeah.
Essentially.
In the meantime, I'll be inside and I'll enter the password and shut it down and everything's hunky-dory.
And like Shinji's like, is that not like... And he doesn't freak out or anything. He's like, is that not like really dangerous?
But he's really worried about her.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's like he has a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
And she says, well, yeah, but we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And then he follows her
lead.
Yeah.
And so she positions herself in the sort of semi-closed hand of Unit 1
which is
between
insane.
the fingers. Yeah.
Utterly insane.
And then they launch Unit 1 out the back of the plane,
Yeah.
which does this awesome sliding landing, and then start sprinting to catch up with Jet-Alone.
Which is oddly hilarious in its way, because you just get, like, parallel to the camera, like, utterly in profile, like, Jet-Alone at one side of the screen, and then, like,
catching up, yeah.
And for some reason, there is a massive handle.
Yeah,
on the
Evangelion hand-sized handle on the back of Jet-Alone, which Shinji uses Unit 1's hand to grab onto and sort of pull it back to slow it down. It's a bit like grabbing someone by their boxers to stop them running away.
And Jet-Alone isn't smart. It's just running.
No, it's literally just,
And then he hands Misato over, kind of like drops her onto the top of Jet-Alone.
Yeah. And after a little tumble and nearly falling to her death, she goes inside and enters Jet-Alone.
And, everything is red lights inside. There's like a kind of heat haze. You can tell there's like a lot of radiation in there.
Yeah.
And so basically, externally, Shinji is
now around the front of Jet-Alone.
Just basically putting his hand on its face just to stop it running. And then like steam is starting to like burst out of
like seams,
Yeah, and then like Shinji's like putting his hands over
the burst.
Like, it doesn't matter, Shinji, that's not important.
No, just stop it.
But still quite effective. Like he's actually
he's doing something. And he's obviously very like stakes are high at this point. The music's up and everyone is concerned.
Yeah.
We cut to inside and Misato activates the monitor. And it says password.
Yes.
And she puts in hope. And she presses enter. And it goes, error. And she's like, what? And you're like, what? And then she does it again. Error. And at which point she goes,
It's been meddled with.
Something's up here. Yeah, basically.
It's not right.
And so she resorts to trying to manually push the sort of...
the carbon rods
back in. Yeah, in order to stop the reaction. And she's pushing all of them out against one, and there seems to be like 30 in this room. It's a tiny little room. It's inside Jet-Alone.
And it's really futile. And you see back at the control center, they're going oh, we're
9 seconds from critical.
It's gonna blow. It's gonna blow.
Yeah, and Shinji's like Misato, and it's like, and she's pushing one rod, and she's making immensely slow progress with it, and it comes to the point where we're a second away from detonation, and suddenly the room goes green. And all the rods slide in by themselves, making Misato fall to the ground, because, of course, she was pushing all her weight against one of them. And the screen goes, everything's okay, and Jet-Alone stops.
Yeah, and Jet-Alone, all the external rods go
come back in.
And it just sinks to its knees.
Yeah, and Shinji's a bit like, what?
What?
And everyone goes, hey, she did it! She did it! And Ritsuko is back there at the command center, and she's just like, whatever.
She does have that fool.
Yeah,
something like
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then Shinji's like calling Misato on the radio.
It's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?
And she's like, yeah, I'm a bit, a bit roughed up, but I'm okay. And Shinji's, I thought he was going to cry, but he doesn't. He actually just goes, "This is amazing. You're okay. Incredible." Like
he really cares that she's all right.
And she goes like, "Yeah, I'm good." I mean, you get like this little. She talks to herself, and she goes like, "That, Yeah. I can't remember what she said, but she said something like, "This is odd."
It's a miracle that it deactivated at exactly the right time. She basically says someone has sabotaged it.
Yeah.
And that it was always going to stop at this point, regardless of whether she was there.
Because everybody thinks she saved the day, but she's like,
she
I didn't.
Hasn't.
Like, this was automatically set to turn off.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember whether we then cut back to Nerve or back to the apartment?
I think we cut back to Nerve then.
Yes, you're right. Actually, we do.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we're back in Gendo's office.
And it's just silhouettes, but we know that Ritsuko and Gendo are there.
Yeah, and there's like another guy in a suit for some reason.
Yeah.
And she says something to the effect of, everything went according to plan, with the exception
of Misato's interference.
Yes.
Yes, which means that was never the plan, it was never necessary, and Ritsuko was privy to the information about the sabotage.
So, without outright saying it, I believe we are led to assume that Nerve intentionally sabotaged Jet-Alone to shut down a project, a rival project which could have taken funding away from them,
ensuring also that America would fully fund the rest of the Evangelion.
Which of course raises some very interesting questions, because you could say that although Nerve is a very effective weapon against the Angels, surely the more weapons the better.
You'd think so.
Surely this benefits everyone.
So why is it that they're so keen to make it only Nerve that are in charge of it? Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very good point.
They come across as very sinister.
They do. Yeah. Which is another playing into the classic sinisterism of them.
And then final scene, back to the apartment.
We
reuse some animation yet again.
Yep, so Shinji and Pen again eating Pen with a fish, Shinji with some toast. The door slides open, and this time it's Misato in a classic slobby outfit.
And she slams back a beer.
In the exact same animation, which means we've now seen it 4 times.
4 times.
It's the only low point of this episode.
4 times.
But again, it is played as part of her slobby nature, and it's
better in this episode than it was in the first instance in which we saw it.
Absolutely.
Shinji has the most amazing deadpan look on his face. It's actually quite funny.
His friends arrive at the door, and they're like, "Oh, Misato!"
And he's like, "No,
we're going.
No, we're out of here." And
then they're walking to school.
Yes,
and they're walking down the road. And they're sort of singing Misato's praises. Oh, it'd be so amazing to live with a girl like that, kind of thing. And he goes, well, you guys don't know how much of a slob. This is the first time he really properly says how embarrassed he is of her most of the time and how slobby she is. But then they say, he just doesn't get it, does he?
Shinji, you're missing the point.
Because the point is, and this is quite lovely, is that you see a side of her she shows no one else, which means she considers you family, which is really rather nice.
And Shinji smiles.
He does. So it ends with Shinji smiling.
And the episode ends.
Yeah. I mean, what a good ending that is. It's a well-rounded, well-polished story object.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Actual character development. It's wonderful. Yeah. It's genuinely wonderful.
Makes it all worthwhile.
Forgotten how good this episode is.
Yeah.
In an episode where we don't see a single angel.
True, actually. Very true.
And we don't see a lot...
We do get action, which is good.
Yes.
But yeah, not angel-related action.
And we don't get a lot of... Shinji.
Shinji-ism.
Really? No, just in general. Like, it's more about Misato.
That's true, it is about Misato.
And when Shinji is used, he's used effectively.
Yeah.
This is a really strong episode.
Yeah.
I liked it a hell of a lot. I'd forgotten how good it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's up there.
I think so.
It's absolutely up there.
Well, as I say, I remember now that it was one that I went back to, and this is why, obviously. Like, good storytelling prevails.
It's also, I forgot one very throwaway moment, which I forgot from the start of the episode, is when Shinji leaves the apartment the first time, Misato says, how ironic, like he's finally speaking his mind, and now he's speaking his mind to put me down.
Yeah.
Picks up the phone and just says, he's left the house, please keep an eye on him.
Yes. And that shows 2 things. 1, that she cares, and 2, that there are indeed government agents always watching him.
Yeah.
Little attentions to detail.
I know, it's so weird, for an episode which you could argue is not ultimately connected to the greater mythos because you don't have an angel.
No.
It actually does a lot more to humanise the characters and build the world.
I've got to say, I feel like, especially just that, you make a good point, that throwaway phone call that she makes. We've done the whole show potentially a disservice by assuming in the earlier episodes when he's being beaten up in the playground that they weren't there. We shouldn't judge really these shows until you've seen them as a whole, because of course Hideaki Anno was waiting to reveal the fact that there was a surveillance team on him all the time in later episodes. So there may be moments where we have to eat our words and eat our hats, and I'm willing to do that.
I think it's interesting though. I think if the earlier episodes had generally just been a bit better,
then we would have forgiven it.
We would have forgiven these plot holes. It's only when you're like,
we were picking on them.
When we're like, the characters are inconsistent. They seem weird and alien, and I don't really care about them. And you're kind of like, that's when you think,
mistakes beget
without
mistakes,
that to carry it, I am more sceptical.
You're
and
absolutely
I will
right.
just be a nitpicking sod.
If we love / like something, we're going to be easier on it, obviously. But I mean, still, I think it's worth saying that this is a journey that we're on, and there's going to be moments maybe where later episodes do sort of sort out the sins of maybe earlier ones, and this is a case of that.
It's crazy. It's like it feels like a show hitting its stride.
Yeah, it does actually.
It's a strong episode. I wonder, like, I'm genuinely curious now. I don't know what the writing process is for, an anime of this nature. Like, if it was something like, an example I might think of is the American TV series Fringe.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, I've only seen the first 2 seasons, but I actually it's quite a good comparison because it's got a good opening couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Then kind of falls by the wayside and then kind of wobbles for the longest time. And you're kind of thinking, like, what is this about? Like, it's a series with a big mythos, Evangelion, but where is it? Like, I'm not seeing it. I have no idea what's going on. I mean, it's only when you get to a point and you get a really good couple of episodes and you're like, and you're suddenly like, oh, that's what it's about. And with those shows, like those American shows, you'd have like 20 odd different writers. Like, they just bring in different people. And I wonder if it's anything like that. Did they just have one very good writer who came in for this episode? I don't know.
Haven't you? It's like Doctor. It's not the same as Doctor Who, which is a show that I have completely fallen out of love with. But certainly, like, they would almost have different writers on different episodes because a lot of Doctor Who episodes are more standalone. And there would be these shining episodes, and it would be like, it's this one writer, and it was very clear that it was his fingerprint on it. And then the next episode would go back to whoever or whatever usual writing team it was, and it would be the dross that we've come to get used to, unfortunately, with that. But yeah, it's interesting how, maybe you're right. Maybe there was some star writer.
We'll have to do some research and actually look it up.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on it.
Because I know, like, you do get in anime these more kind of like visionary, direct, or like
creators.
And it's very much informed by their vision. But it's like, well, do they write the whole thing?
Yeah.
Or do they kind of direct and champion and
because I get this feeling like I sort of treat Hideaki Anno in my head as the Hideo Kojima of anime. Do you know what I mean? Like he is considered by those who work alongside him as a genius, but what he makes is practically impenetrable by everyone
and very divisive.
And therefore, because it's so impenetrable and so confusing and weird, everyone goes, well, because I don't understand it, it must be because it's a genius work of art.
Yes.
Like, it's not because it's badly constructed.
Yeah, I know.
It's because I don't get it because I'm stupid and he's a genius.
Yeah.
And I think that's how people treat Anno as well. I don't know, but I get that feeling in my head that that's the kind of genius he is. Because I think on some level he's a genius.
Yeah.
He made something we love.
No, I think he probably is a genius.
Yeah.
But, it's a very fine line, isn't it, between kind of genius and madness, yeah. And it's so weird. Like, I guess we wouldn't be here doing this podcast if there wasn't something.
We have watched countless animes in full, and yet our first and potentially significant podcast has been about Evangelion.
Yeah.
Why is that?
There must be something.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I've very much enjoyed talking about it. I don't know if there's much more to say. It's kind of like short and sweet.
Let's get to impact and Shinji rating.
I have some pretty
out there concepts.
Yeah.
What did we rate the movie?
The movie was 9.5.
Oh wow!
For impact,
right?
And I think 2 for Shinji.
Shinjism. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is tough.
Okay.
I have an answer, but I almost worry. Well, maybe you'll balance it out. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I have an answer for impact.
Okay, I have an answer for impact.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to say 9.
Okay. So
my reasoning for it is that although I think it was a great episode and well put together, I feel like the movie still maybe has an edge, just because of the stakes.
Yeah.
And the sort of raising of the. There was more action. There was more danger.
And I was really and I agree entirely that I think the movie is ultimately better.
Sure.
The odd reason why I might give this a higher rating is that I felt like, in terms of like achieving different things.
Okay.
I felt that like for a 22-minute episode
Very true.
of Evangelion, I think this was almost like a perfect episode.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Well, I'm happy to call it 9.5 again.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to split the difference like we did last time because
as you say, it's as good but in a different way.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So, okay, impact 9.5.
Yeah.
Cool. And Shinginess. Now, this is interesting.
Because Shinginess is a very subtle scale.
Yes.
Because it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just kind of how much Shinji is Shinji. Like,
yes, exactly. And Shinji is an abstract concept that we've come up with, which defines a certain character trait, which is basically wet blanket, isn't it? Really.
Maybe what we were expecting.
Yeah, which we've been on many ways disproved.
Yeah, very surprised by that.
I think I have a number.
I have a number.
Okay, I'm going to go first. I'm going to say 1.
I'm going to say 0.
Oh, excellent. Well, we both went for less Shinginess than the movie, which I'm glad about.
And which is why I was very wary about my scoring, because it's pretty extreme to go for 10 and 0.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt this was an episode of extremes.
He behaves more like an ordinary human being.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him 1 because I think that just by being Shinji, he has to have a base level.
There is a base level.
Yeah,
no, that's a very good point. If you're happy to split the difference and go half,
that's as always. Yeah. Let's do it.
You see, my reasoning for the 0 was, while he's still uppity and
who he is,
it is played with a humanity and comedy, which we don't see in any other things. And like when Shinji's moping in episode 4, we just want to walk out the door. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But like in this, it's funny.
I don't think he ever really mopes in this episode at all.
No.
I mean, I think the only thing you could call Shinginess is his embarrassment towards Misato's slobbiness. That's really the only thing.
But he has a lot of backbone.
Yeah,
he does. Like, you're a slob.
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
It's like she's nearly twice his age and he still says that to her, you know.
We're a regular odd couple. It's great.
0.5 then on Shinji.
Yeah, 0.5 on Shinji and 9.5 on Impact.
So a pretty strong... And actually, if you consider the relationship between those two numbers, this is the highest scoring episode. Because if we gave the film 2 for Shinji, which I believe we did...
Yes, we did, yeah.
Yeah. Then a lower... If it's got the same Impact score, but a lower Shinji score, then that must mean on some level it's better.
Well, it's interesting, because I think that's why... Shinginess is a subtler...
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily impact the quality of the episode.
It's a different flavour, because I know, for example, where the series is going, we might get episodes which are brilliant, but might also be quite high Shinji.
High Shinji levels, you're absolutely right, yeah. And in fact, I kind of look forward to seeing how these scales might start to change that, because their relationship so far has been high impact, low Shinji, usually. I wonder if that will remain to be the case.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I think in the movie and this episode, it's odd in a way. It's almost like... if we get to the end of the series when we do a greatest hits moment, I'm always thinking like, if you were to introduce Evangelion to someone, I think definitely the movie.
Yeah.
And definitely this episode.
Yeah, I think what might be fun to do at the very end is to, as you say, like greatest hits, are you thinking like, what are the best episodes? What are the best Evangelion moments?
Yeah.
What would be the top 3 episodes that you would say, watch these before you have to put up with the crap at the beginning. Yeah. You know, because I would argue that if I was going to show someone Evangelion for the first time ever, and let's be brutal here and let's make it someone who hasn't even watched anime before, there's no way I could start at the beginning. There's just no way at all. No. I would have to show them something later on to go, this is how cool it is. Maybe give them a little chat while we're watching it about, oh, that's who that is, that's what that is, kind of thing. But I would never start at the beginning because I just don't think they'd get through it. So it'd be great to do at the end, like what are those episodes that we would show people to introduce them? Yeah.
We should do that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good idea.
Well, look, should we call it a day?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Well, I've got. I'm almost not sure if our sign off is adequate, really, given how. Okay. Oh, how about this then?
Yeah.
So if we've said everything we want to say,
we have.
So I guess before we go, we should mention we have a Patreon.
Yes, newly updated.
Yes,
freshened up Patreon.
It's never looked better.
It hasn't.
Because we do a whole lot of stuff as Big Punch Studios.
Yeah, these podcasts really are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we do.
Yeah, this is very much like what we do when we're not making comics and games. And, if you love what we do, we would be honoured if you would support us on Patreon.
Yeah, we have tiers. We have a $1 tier, which is what we refer to as our supporters tier. And, it's support from things like that allow us to do things like pay our creators, our collaborators that we work with on our comics, and to help us get our books printed and all this kind of stuff that, all we want to do is just get our stories out and tell these stories and make the things that we love to make. But sadly, money often gets in the way of that. So the people who already support us on Patreon, we're just so grateful to them because they really help. This really, really helps. And we could do more podcasts. We could make more comics and all sorts of stuff with your incredible support. And literally, $1 sounds like nothing, but it really isn't because
it would make all the difference.
If 10 of you do it, it's $10. So
and Nick's done some absolutely wonderful work making the Kickstarter new and shiny. Not the Kickstarter, the Patreon. Sorry. Yeah. And it's like, if you like what we do, please do consider looking at the Patreon because there's a whole host of rewards. If it's not just for podcasts, if you want to, get rewards for our comics and magazines, you can get a copy of Extraversal sent to your door every 3 months, like an actual physical comic.
Yeah.
I'm waffling, but please just check it out, see what you like, and thank you for all your incredible support in following the podcast and everything we do. Oh, and most importantly, if you do back us for $1 on Patreon, you will receive access to the Punchcast, which is a very exclusive podcast which we record only for our patrons.
That's true. Yes, a podcast only for patrons. So obviously the one you're listening to now, we put out through YouTube, through SoundCloud. Is it we put it out?
Yes, SoundCloud. Yeah.
And all good Patreon channels, not Patreon, podcast channels. But Punchcast is very exclusive, and we talk a lot about the behind the scenes of what we're up to, stuff that we're enjoying, watching, playing, and you just get a feel for the whole Big Punch crew because of course Ali and Lucy joining on that
Indeed.
So obviously, thank you very much for listening anyway.
Yes, and thank you for letting us be shameless shills at the end there. But we hope you enjoyed this episode of Nich and Jon This Evangelion. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks doing another episode. And, I think we can guess what's coming in that episode.
I think so this time.
We have to be right this time.
We have to be.
So, I've been John.
I've been Nick.
And until next time, folks, remember, however bad your life may be, you could always be jet alone.